Women on a Green Mission. Follow along as two friends document their unfurling permaculture journeys.
Join our chat each week where we'll be sharing how we and others apply permaculture to our gardens and daily life.
We're no experts. We're at the start of our journey, fumbling our way to a greener life. We'd love your company along the way.
Hey everyone.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm sad. Well, I'm happy and I'm sad. This is our last episode of the year.
Last episode for 2024.
I know. It's been a whole year. A whole year of the pod.
Yeah. Actually, I should go back and look up when our first episode was released, but we recorded our first episode late November. So it has been a full year of us doing this.
Yeah. Wow. Like, it's just, I know we mentioned that last time, but it still blows me away. Like, because I think anyone that's ever done it, like either a podcast or something similar, knows like how much work goes into it, right? Like there is a lot of work. It's not just us having a chat and then we put it up. Like, well, okay, let me reframe that. For me, it is. I just show up.
Well, for the first couple of months, it was definitely us just showing up and talking. Till we got a bit more intentional about it.
But no, now, and that's something, I want everyone to understand too, like, yeah, you are the driver behind this pod of getting guests and editing episodes, and you do all the socials and you keep things going and flowing, and you literally just say to me, okay, so we're recording on this day and we're doing this first and blah, 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 and here's all the information you need. And I'm literally just like, okay, I'll just show up.
Well, actually, touching on that kind of brings me to like our next year plans a little bit. Because I'm trying to get a bit more serious about the podcast and make it, there's a lot of hours that go into it. Mm-hmm. And as we kind of get busier with, the kids getting older and having to bring in money with a job, and, I don't want the podcast to fall to the wayside because, it's not financially viable. And so I kind of prioritize my paid work over the podcast. Like I want to be consistent. So I've made some goals for next year so that we can try and bring in some money on the podcast and work with some more aligned brands potentially next year so that it kind of can bring in or pay for itself a little bit. So next year we're hoping to do some stuff like that with some different people and brands so that we can make the podcast last for hopefully years, and that it can be something that we can offer to our community for a long time going forward. Because I hate it when you get into a podcast and then they just stop making episodes and you never hear about them anymore.
I know. You jump on and you're like, right, it's like the Thursday or Tuesday whenever they drop, and you're like, refresh, like, why isn't it on there? What's going on?
Yeah. So we want to keep this going well into the future. So we're looking at ways to make that sustainable for us to continue doing.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that too, I'm trying to treat it more like a business. So I've got some advice from another podcast. She actually produces podcasts. And so she's given me some tips for next year, or maybe how to structure the episodes a little bit differently. So we're going to kind of change things up a little bit and change the format and kind of see if it works, see what people like, try and make it more like engaging and upbeat so that, people are enjoying it and they're wanting to tune in every week. So, we're kind of growing up a little bit next year, I think, and just changing things. We're looking at doing some masterclasses next year, some free masterclasses. We've got some people already lined up for that are really keen to share their knowledge. We're hoping to offer a lot more. And if there's anything you want to hear more about or suggestions you have, I try and every couple of months put up question boxes in our Instagram stories. So feel free to answer those as honestly as you possibly can. But also if there's any time where you want to just DM me or say something in our community group, like there was a guy who popped up and said, oh, listen, I don't know if it's just me, but the audio is really loud and soft. And I love that. Like, give me all the advice because that's the only way we can improve this little podcast.
Exactly. And what we hear on one side isn't necessarily what others are hearing on the other side as well. So, to get that feedback, and also again, the structure, the content, the way, the guests, the type of guests that we're getting as well. Like, I mean, how many awesome people have we spoken to in the last 12 months?
Yeah.
Like there's not been one guest that we've spoken to that we haven't come away going, holy crap, like we're either completely reinvigorated or we're inspired or we're educated or we've had, some amazing takeaway from like the conversations that we have after recording episodes. It's like, we say our goodbyes and then it's like, oh my God, like I need to go back and, again, listen to that and reabsorb that information. But it's like, it's such a beautiful way to connect with people.
Yeah.
Like,
really cool.
It's great.
Yeah. And we've said this before, but like the community that we've chosen to work with, permaculture people, they are so giving of their time and their knowledge and their skills. So I think when you have those conversations, there's always little nuggets that come out of it. And you either get some information or a change of perspective or a tip or I think it's awesome that we get to bring that to people and also learn ourselves along the way, which is what the whole podcast is about. We're not the knowledge holders. We're not experts. We just want to learn with you and alongside you. So if there's anything you want to learn about, definitely hit us up because I'm sure there's other people out there that also want to learn those things. Yeah.
For sure. Yep. And next year, like we do have some like really cool guests already lined up. I know that you've got the guest list, sorted and you've already got interviews booked in and ready to roll. And there's going to be a lot of cool people.
So exciting. But before we go too far into next year, let's think about the year that was. So what kind of big take homes have you had from this first year of the podcast, but more importantly, like our post PDC life, which has been 18 months now of us doing our PDC, and like how has it influenced your year, or what take homes have you had or lessons, and share with us.
So when you asked me that question, I sort of had to really stop and think about that because it's like, as you do, life happens and you get into the doing and not so much the reflecting. And it didn't take long, like it was just a couple of minutes of thinking about it. But for me, my biggest take home for this year and since the PDC is that it is completely okay, and I think almost a must do, to revise your goals and to shift direction where you need to. So life changes, right? Like we all have different stages of our lives. Like we've had these conversations before where, you're at a different stage of your life to where I'm at in mine. So the demands on you are different to the demands on me, but they're all still, demands. But for me, the biggest take home was, being able to just revise those goals and then reset, recalibrate and go, okay, does this still align with what I want to achieve? Or start going down that path and go, hey, is this what I want? Like, I suppose an example of that is like anyone that's watching the video, you can see my my map, my design behind me. And that included having a farm gate and, we were going to do a big farm stall and we were going to sell fresh veggies and sell our eggs. And, I was going to look at being able to go into a commercial kitchen and, we can do jams and preserves and blah, blah, blah. And the more I looked into that and the more I looked at the amount of time that I would need to invest into that to be consistent, like it's one thing to do it as a one-off, great, but to be consistent, the amount of time and effort that I would have to put into that for the time that I actually had, because I've, I've been juggling work as well. Like I was down to just doing part-time 3 days a week. I'm now back doing 4. That's turning into a little bit sometimes at 5 days. So, again, my life's moving and changing. And I looked and went, where I am in life and the energy levels that I have and the things that I want to achieve, is that realistic for me to be able to do that consistently in a way that I can support the community? Or can I do something else that's going to support the community in a way that's going to also support me and allow me to continually give? And so I decided that, that farm stall is not going to be a thing for us, certainly not at this stage. That may change again. And it was a little bit like, but I designed it in, so I want it. And I'm like, I had to let go of that because I am going to absolutely just, run myself into the ground trying to achieve all of these things because I said that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Bloody trucks. Yeah, so I was going to run myself into the ground trying to achieve everything that I said that I originally wanted. So reassessing and then realigning those goals with where I'm at and giving myself permission to just let things go. It's like, it's okay. I don't have to do that. Just because it's a nice idea, I don't have to. So, you know, and I'm still supporting the community. Like we still, we sell our eggs directly here to customers that come and, you know, pick them up. I leave them out under the carport or in the fridge if it's a hot day, and they come in and help themselves and say hello to the turkeys. And, you know, so we've got customers that do that. I'm still selling down to Maitland Street Collective Cafe here in Branxton. So Heather on sells the eggs. And they're still a hell of a lot cheaper, you know, than what you can buy in the shops as well. And people are getting, you know, farm fresh, hand collected eggs. So still supporting in that way. And yeah, wanting to maybe do a little bit more in the community as well, where I can give my time, but not necessarily have to give, you know, so much that then I can't keep up with it. So yeah, seeing what that looks like. So that's, yeah, for me, that's my biggest takeaway.
Mine's kind of similar. I've got two. So the first one's kind of similar to what you were saying. It kind of made me think about, you know, we came to the property with this big ideal of what we could be growing and doing and having, you know, picking our veggies every night and all these things. And yeah, I think we've just learnt to really fail spectacularly this year in so many different ways. So it's been lovely. It's been humbling. It's also a reality check. It's also, you know, a capacity check. And I think in your head things, you know, you always think things are going to go faster. Like we'll have this and this and this done, and this will be like this. And, you know, we've had pest problems because we don't have the ecosystem to support it, and we don't have the polyculture to support it. And we've planted things and they've failed, and we've had to come up across, you know, really heavy clay soil and, you know, the wind. We've got no hedgerows established. We've got blocks cleared all around us. So, you know, we're getting smashed by the wind. Our plants are really, you know, copping that. We've had to figure out, you know, drainage issues. We've had to, you know, there's been so many things that have popped up along the way and that have slowed us down and stopped us and made us have to redesign and pivot and, you know, family stuff and health stuff. And, you know, so much has happened this year. And it's kind of had a twofold effect. One in like, I felt like really, you know, this going to happen? And it's just, we keep putting money into this, and that kind of disheartening thing. But then I also had a memory, you know, your phone creates like old memories for you. A year ago on this day, one of those popped up, and it was us pulling up to the block and there was nothing there. The grass was up to our knees. It was just us getting out of the caravan, and we were grinning from ear to ear. We were so happy waking up on our block, and it just reminded me, oh wow, we actually have done so much. You really easily and quickly forget how much time and effort you've put into a project or whatever it is. So yeah, I kind of have this mixed feeling about it all. Are we being pie in the sky, too ambitious, but also wow, look how far we've come? And then the second learning I've had was that when we got to this block, and part of our permaculture course when we were doing our why is that we said, you know, we'd learnt so many lessons from being on the road and just really learning how to slow down and pare things back and live really simply. And so I have these mixed emotions too about being here because, you know, financially, it's a big commitment for us to be on this block and building this house. And we've got this massive financial stress of how we're going to get this house finished. We don't have the money, and potentially the bank won't loan us the money. And it's a modest house. It's, you know, small by our standards of living that most people have. It's, you know, 2 bedrooms and, you know, 1 bathroom. And so, yeah, are we pushing ourselves too much, and are we losing sight of those things that we learnt? And, you know, we wanted to spend time with the kids, and, you know, they're getting bigger and they're growing up before our eyes, and are we spending enough time with them? And is the block taking up too much of our time and capacity in terms of money and energy? And so that's the other thing I'm kind of having to grapple with too. Like, if we've chosen this life to be here, but also balancing those
Mm.
lessons that we learned and wanting to still have that slow life and not overcommit financially. And, you know, once you are stationary and the kids are getting older, there's those decisions about, you know, sporting commitments and friendship commitments. And I think as the kids get older, our life starts speeding up more and more because they've got their own little lives and their own social interactions and their own needs. Whereas before they were just like, you know, another limb. They were, you know, part of us and attached to us, and
Yeah.
they didn't have as much free will, I guess, you know, like so it's hard. Like that's the other thing that I reflected on this year, and yeah, I don't really have the answers yet. I'm still kind of unpacking that a little bit.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's kind of what this year has kind of brought up and taught me a little bit, and those lessons are still being learnt, but that's kind of where I'm sitting with 2024. Like it's a very exciting year, but it's a very kind of not destabilizing, that's not the right word, but yeah, like reassessing life all over again. And is it, you know, the thing that you pictured, is it going to be like that? And yeah, just I don't know if any of
Very
that makes sense. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
waffling and repeating myself, but I think it's just because I am still in that space of unpacking how I feel about it still, and I'm still really in it and it's raw. So yeah.
Isn't it interesting though that we've both gone through something quite similar? Again, completely different contexts, completely different lifestyles and all the rest of it, but we both went through something quite similar with that of just reassessing, and then, you know, allowing things to just go, and then bringing it back in again, going, well, do I want this? Do I not want this? What are we actually doing with this?
Yeah. And I mean, that's what permaculture is. It's designing, and it's a framework to help you make decisions and design your life and your property and all these things. So, you know, permaculture gives us those skills, but if you're a bit wobbly on your why, or you don't know what you want, then you can't really design it. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think, trying to get more solid in what we want it to look like, and maybe going back and revisiting all our course notes, because when we were dreaming it up in the caravan versus actually living it, like you said, do your priorities change, and do your values kind of change over time, and your capacity and the things that you want? And so I think this time of year too just makes you kind of start thinking about, you know, the year that was and what you want for next year, and it's kind of brought all that up for me, I guess.
I suppose something else that, as you were speaking about that, then especially with the values, like that's something too that I don't think we've reassessed. Like our values haven't changed, but the way in which they are applied in our life has changed. Like,
yes,
I know that even before we did the course and then coming out of the course, I kind of got stuck a little bit in that I've got to be on point with every decision. Like every decision was measured against a principle in permaculture, or the ethics of permaculture. And I still do that, but I don't do that to the degree of giving myself a hard time if I buy something that has packaging, or like I ran in, like it was funny the other day, like we're not growing any lettuce or anything at the moment. Like we've got lots of like warrigal greens, and we've got spinach, and we've got chard, but the lettuce I just didn't get to, doing a sequential planting, and then they've gone to seed. So I was at the shops the other day, you know, sort of getting a few bits and pieces, and I went, oh, I need lettuce. So I bought lettuce. And we ran into a friend, and I almost felt the need to justify why I was buying a lettuce. Like, I'm like, I know it's really easy to grow, but I didn't get a chance to get other seeds in, and, you know, we didn't have any growing. And she sort of looked at me and went like, like, that's cool. Like, I'm not judging you over a bloody lettuce, man. Like, chill out. But I kind of felt that. And then I went, oh, you know what? Like, I need to let that go. And, you know what? Just because someone else might have a really strong opinion about what, you know, we should and shouldn't do around, you know, purchases or companies that we buy from, it's for us to make our decisions on how we actually apply our values and how we apply those design principles and those ethics to what we do. And just because we do something maybe on a one-off or a twice-off need, it doesn't mean that that's something that is habitual in our lives that we continue to do. And again, giving myself permission to go, you know what, that's okay. Stop beating yourself up because you're not perfect. You're not going to live like a hippie hermit and not have any sort of, you know, footprint on the earth. But what can you do to offset that? And how can you minimize that negative footprint and maximize that positive, and allowing myself that grace to just have, just bloody be human in all of that as well. So
Yeah.
that's something else that's been, and that's been there for a long time as well, but that just gets bigger and deeper and wider each year. Like it's, I don't know, what do they call that? Growing up, maturity, maybe?
So the other thing as well is that we've had this conversation before where, in permaculture, being somewhere for a whole 12 months and seeing all the seasons before you make decisions and blah, blah, blah. And I was always like, nah, just get the veggies in the ground. I can change where the garden beds are. And, that's I see the truth in both still. I really go, oh, wow, there's so much that we could have done differently if we really waited a whole year and sat here. I would have kind of gone crazy not doing anything. So I still want to be able to do those raised beds because I can move them and I can change my mind. But I think I really see the value in that now too, whereas I didn't so much at the beginning. I went, oh yeah, you can probably just make educated decisions for a lot of it. But now I kind of go, oh yeah, next year I'll do this a bit differently, or I need to start this earlier. I didn't really consider this in this climate, and this is what the weather patterns are doing at the moment, and does this happen every October? And all of those things I've seen really play out on the block this year. And now coming into February, that will be a full year of us on the block. And I still think next year we probably won't have learnt those lessons because we haven't been gardening that whole time. We were on the block in Feb, but we didn't really get roots in the ground or do much until like April kind of ish. So I think we've still got a whole nother year of learning those lessons. And, I might have seen it, but then I'll implement it. And then what I've implemented won't work. So I haven't actually, seen the season all the way through. I've kind of thought about it and now we're implementing it. And so, yeah, I can just see this process being another 2 years before we really kind of understand where we're at. And that's exciting, but frustrating at the same time because I'm like a get it done person and I want things to be more established kind of person. So that's been a massive lesson in just teaching me to slow down again and be humble and not rush things. But yeah, I still really struggle with that. Like I really struggle with the not having things immediately.
Yeah. I want them in now and I don't want anything to eat them and I don't want a weather event to happen and I don't want the wind to wipe them out. And if the weather could just be between 25 and 28 and we have rain every evening and then no possums and that'd be perfect, right?
Oh, man.
And look, do you know what? It's when you were saying that, I'm sort of smiling on the inside going, yeah, you got another year of learning and the rest. Like we have been
totally,
here on our property for 8 years. We've been, we've had some gardens in for 6. We did nothing really for the first few years. Some basic veggie gardens and stuff like that, which have all been completely moved anyway. But really, I suppose, in earnest, it's been 2 years where we've really started to get things going. And the lessons that we learned like 6 years ago, maybe I'm just a really slow learner. I'm like, I'm going to give that a go again. Like I put a mango in a couple of weeks ago. The first mango we had, the horses ate it down. It grew back. And then I didn't water it and we had one of the worst summers we've ever had. And of course the avo and like most of our fruit trees just carked it because we didn't have wind protection, we didn't have sun protection, we didn't irrigate, it was shit soil, like everything that you could make a mistake for when putting a fruit tree in, we did. So anyway, I was, at the big green shed and it was on sale and I went, oh, I'm bringing you home, Mrs. Bowen Mango. I need a mango tree. And so we put it up in the big chicken run, but we didn't have chickens up there because we've consolidated. We had an attack, so we only got one rooster now, so far more manageable. So all the chickens were in one coop. So I didn't put anything around it. The rabbits haven't been a bother because there's enough feed everywhere else, so no worries. So, this mango's in, it's happy, it's getting established, it's mulched, it doesn't have a cage around it. Then I go the following weekend, oh, you know what? I'm going to move the chickens up there for summer because they've got a bigger area. They've got more shade. It's better for them than the one that they're in. So move them up there, put them up there for a whole week and then had a moment. I went, oh crap, they've dug that mango up, I bet. Like, I didn't have any protection around it, went up there,
No.
sure as anything, they've just been at it. And I'm like, come on, like, when am I going to learn? Like, come on, Joe, like, get it together. But, we've salvaged it. I added some more compost. I remulched, I recaged, gave the chickens a talking to, which they just went, whatever.
Yeah.
It saved. And then, another big water. And then we had rain yesterday and last night. And I went out this morning with my cup of tea and she's looking very happy and very healthy. So I was like, oh, it's okay.
Excellent.
I want you to be all right. But some of those lessons, like, you learn them, you know what you should do, you know what's going to work, and you just don't do it sometimes. And
that's
like, what's wrong?
That's kind of what I mean too by like everything speeding up. Like, I've had a few things like that where I've made the mistake a second time and gone, you knew that. But then when I've reflected, it's been like, I've just been too busy and I have to get it done because I need to move on to the next thing. And I think I don't want our life to speed up because I know the impact that then has on, the garden or, financially having to make the mistake a second time or whatever it is. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of struggling with in that sense. Like you said, making the mistake a second time and kicking yourself because you know better.
You're like, I know this.
And
Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what then into 2025? Have you got any like big plans or projects or things that you're going to take into 2025 and go, yeah, this is my hill to die on for 2025?
I'm actually going to write on my bathroom mirror, slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
It has sped up for us this year. Like, again, we've reassessed and, I've, career-wise, things are changing and it will continue to change next year as well. So I'm going to have some courses that I'll be doing professionally to upskill. So there'll be a little bit more focus there, which means it's going to be less time for here. Because as much as I'd love to say, I can do it all, I cannot. Like, when you put effort and time and energy into an area over here, then you have, like, there's only a finite amount, right?
But how do you feel about that? Like, are you feeling quite grounded about that decision? Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah. 12 months ago, I wouldn't have been. I would have been kicking and screaming and,
that's why I ask. Yeah, that's why I ask, because that's,
last
12,
year, we had those conversations.
Last year, you're wanting to slow down, not work, be out in your garden more, find that balance. So I was curious. And why do you think you've kind of come to that place of being content and wanting to kind of focus on that stuff?
I suppose there's been, a little bit of a reality check with, where we're at in life. Like, I'm, pushing 50 and I need to make sure that I have got plans in the future so that we are financially stable as we go into our, not that I'm old, but I will be, sooner than what you will be. So, it's that whole, okay, like, in my 60s, what am I going to be doing? Am I going to be doing this gig? Like, what am I, there's one thing with the farm side of things, but the property, but, career-wise, what am I going to be doing at earning an income? I'm not going to be relying on my superannuation. I'm not going to retire. I'm not the sort of person, and neither is Anthony, to just go, all right, well, we've hit a magical age now and we'd like a watch and a handshake and we're done with life. Like, we're just going to go and, retire. Like, we're not. And for anyone that does that, coolio for you, but we're not those sort of people. So we will still want to be doing something on a professional level, and whether that's, paid work or, a combination of paid work and maybe volunteer work or something like that. But I'm looking at how can I upskill so that whatever I'm doing is still something I can do into my 60s, into my 70s as well. That isn't going to take a huge toll on my emotional, mental or physical capacity. And so it still gives me, what I need so that I can be here and I can be present on the property and I can still enjoy that. So it's kind of just reprioritizing and reshifting. And again, it's only for, you sort of said this even before we were recording, like, it's only for a season. Like, it's not for forever. I don't have to, change everything up for forever. It's just for a season. And because I've made that active decision as opposed to feeling like I've been forced into it, like, it's not like life or a situation has caused that. It's just been me reassessing. I'm really cool with that decision. And I'm actually really excited. So, so there's that side of things, and also just taking it a little bit easier around here and being smarter in how we're actually doing our projects. Like we've got one little project we've got to get done, which is refencing, where the new veggie beds are going to go, and then maybe putting in the timber framing for the beds. I might fill them up with some loosened hay or something like that, but that's all that's going to happen over the next 3 months, because it's too hot and we don't want to flog ourselves out there in the heat and then get really disheartened because now we're tired and we're sore, and so it's just kind of again, reassessing and really intentionally slowing down in the areas that I need to slow down in and picking up in the areas that I need to pick up in. So what about you?
Yeah, I think this year's also taught me like the value in village, and so I really want to put more effort into our village, which is one of the goals I had, like personally, of moving up into this new area. And we've made some lovely friends and relationships, and so I want to really continue to build that. That's a really big goal for next year, and find time and space to do that and prioritize it. And then I think next year for us is really similar to you, like money. Like we really need to knuckle down with our finances to get this house built, because we'd need that, thermal comfort and shelter. And I feel like once the house is in, it will really allow us a bit more capacity for the gardens and everything. And I think next year definitely prioritizing, like I was very into getting all our annuals in and trying to get that all established, but I think we really need to focus on just getting our outside of our property, like the hedges, really established and humming and thriving, and create biodiversity strips along our hedges and underplant them and kind of spend a bit more effort and finish them off. I've ordered a bit of comfrey from a lady up the road, so we're going to edge with comfrey, and we're going to finish putting like all of our tree log edges in, because at the moment it's just like an ongoing battle against the grass and that kind of thing to maintain everything. Yeah, so we just want to get our systems established so that once we are ready to do more of those annuals and planting flowers and all those kinds of things, that they'll thrive. Like I think we did it a bit about. Like I just wanted to grow veggies, and then everything just got decimated. And yeah, like I said, we've made lots of mistakes this year. Like I don't know if I told you, we had the bobcat one weekend, and Oscar was moving soil around and making espalier rows for me, and he was using the bobcat, and then he turned the bobcat around and the exhaust made holes in all the netting, like it's melted all the netting because he was working.
No.
So that's like the best analogy for our year. Like we've done one thing and it's fucked up something else, and like we've tried to put this in place and then it's had this knock-on effect, and I just feel like it's been this uphill battle a little bit. So next year we're going to establish those hedges, because it's like things will work better once we have that biodiversity in place, when you have a little bit of wind protection. We're not fighting grass every week and pulling up running grass that's going on to all of our hedges. So yeah, like we're just going to start with the basics and finish them off properly before we take on the next thing. And I think there's such a massive lesson in general to come out of that, just to get our foundations right in everything that we plan to do next year. Because I feel like otherwise it's just like you're constantly going back to that first step because you haven't really done it properly, or you've tried to skip ahead. That's what this year's been. We've literally just been trying to skip ahead. So next year is a foundational year, foundational for our garden, foundational for the house being built, getting our money finance foundation sorted, getting our village foundation sorted. Maybe that's my word for next year, like foundational. I don't know.
I think that's great. And it's like the saying that comes to mind is, once you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of what pops into my head. And you know, that whole thing of doing the basics and doing it well and not skipping ahead, like that applies to everything, doesn't it? Like it's, you can't, like in a community group, you can't just rock up and be like fully immersed in that community group and doing absolutely everything. Like you join and you meet people and you get the lay of the land and you get the dynamics of the group and, okay, where can I fit in and how do I fit in and what do they need and do I have what they need that, you know, what value can I bring? And it takes time. Like you can't just, it's like you join a gym because you want to get fit. Well, you don't get fit by joining a gym. You get fit by actually exercising, whether that's at a gym or not. Like it's, you can't skip ahead. Like you got to do the work in the middle. And like that just goes for everything. And yeah, you and I are very much the same in that respect. Like let's just get it done. Like let's do. And yeah, it's you gotta look at that and go, well, hang on, are we actually doing this and doing it properly and doing it to the degree that we need to get the result?
So yeah.
Oh,
but I think that kind of wraps up our little end of year episode.
I think so.
I'd love to hear what everybody else's goals are and what they've learnt from this year. So if you want to jump on our Facebook group, we can keep the chat going there. But I hope everybody just has a restful time of year. I know that this time of year can be very challenging for people, being around family and friends or not having them around, or, you know, all the spectrums in between. But yes, I hope everybody finds a bit of rest and pause at this crazy time of year and that everyone is safe and happy and healthy.
Yeah, share the love around, share the kindness, and make sure that you do that with yourselves as well, because that's a big thing. It's one thing to be loving and kind to everyone else around you, but if you're not doing that for yourself, then, you know, that's not going to help you. So
true, very true.
Yeah.
Well, we will see you all in January.
Yes.
I can't believe I'm saying that.
I know. January 2025. It'll be a whole new year. We will be refreshed and ready to go for another amazing year of the Practical Permaculture podcast. And thank you to all our listeners, whether this is your first episode that you're listening to or you have been an avid listener from the start or anywhere in between. Thank you. We absolutely appreciate every single one of you. Like, you have no idea. Like, when we started this, we really had no idea whether anyone would either listen or take us seriously or give a shit or any of those things. And the support that we've had and the feedback that we've had has been absolutely incredible. And yeah, we appreciate every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. See you next year. Bye, 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 bye.